of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, while the Prime Minister was swanning around Switzerland with actors and billionaires, Conservatives were back at home listening to business owners and volunteers and regular Canadians. And what we heard from them is that they are increasingly concerned that this Prime Minister has no plan for the economy. Canadians are worried about their jobs, they're worried about the cost of groceries, and they're worried about their kids' futures. Infrastructure is not going to be enough. So what's the Prime Minister's plan to get these people back to work?
Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister went to Switzerland to hang out with the 1%, but he couldn't actually help running down the people back at home who are working hard every day. The natural resource sector has some of the world's leading technologies, scientific innovation and creativity, but the Prime Minister just doesn't get it because it's not his world. He just doesn't care about these jobs. Does the Prime Minister understand then when he's insulting Canadians right across the country, when he insults the natural resource sector?
Maoists. The Prime Minister just appointed the same Mr. Wernick to be the Clerk of the Privy Council, the highest position in Canada's civil service. Will the Prime Minister ask his new Clerk of the Privy Council to apologize for these totally unacceptable remarks?
Right Honourable the Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are very pleased to have Michael Wernick as the new Clerk of the Privy Council. Mr. Wernick has had a long career in the public service, and we look forward to working with him to renew the professional and nonpartisan public service.
The Honourable Member for Portage-Lisgar.
Mr. Speaker, over 100,000 jobs now have been lost in Alberta. Housing values are dropping. People are desperate. Anyone who thinks this is only an Alberta problem is sadly mistaken. And now the Mayor of Montreal has come out opposing Energy East. Where was the Prime Minister? He was in Davos being starstruck by Hollywood actors. Mr. Speaker, if the Prime Minister won't show leadership, will one Liberal member of Parliament from Alberta, one of the four, stand up for Western Canadian jobs?
Jana Capel.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals have not yet brought in one new program to create even a single job. Well, I know of a shovel-ready, massive stimulus project that will create thousands of new jobs all across this country and won't cost taxpayers a cent. It's Energy East. Now, we know that Liberals have a habit of saying different things in different parts of the country. So will the Regional Minister for Saskatchewan assure this House that he clearly supports the Energy East project, and will he stand today and denounce the Liberal Mayor of Montreal's divisive statements?
Lake Eastman.
Well, Mr. Speaker, Canadians and our allies have grown tired of the Liberals' incoherent messaging and lack of concrete plan to defeat ISIS. And that's why we weren't invited to the anti-ISIS meeting in Paris last week. When the Minister of National Defence was first asked why he was not attending the meeting, he used his busy schedule as an excuse. Later, his office confirmed that he was never even invited. When will the Minister apologize for intentionally misleading Canadians?
The Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal government is trying to dress up the same old Senate appointment system in new clothing. But I don't know exactly who they think they're fooling. They've announced an unelected, unaccountable board that will be making secret recommendations for an unelected Senate. And the Prime Minister will just continue to appoint whomever he pleases. Why do the Liberals support the same old, unelected, unaccountable Senate?
The Honourable Minister of Democratic Reform.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians mandated us to provide real change to the Senate without opening up the Constitution. I was pleased to announce at the beginning of December with the House Leader the implementation of a new merit-based assessment process that is public, made available online. And in a few months, for the first time ever, Canadians will be able to apply to become senators. That is real change.
Member for Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston.
Mr. Speaker, that minister's got a whole different definition of public than the rest of us use. Mr. Speaker, the members of the Senate Appointment Board were chosen by the Prime Minister at his absolute discretion in secret. Their suggestions are reviewed by the Prime Minister in secret. The names of unsuccessful candidates remain secret. The reasons why the Prime Minister will choose one candidate over another will be a secret.
Mr. Speaker, the Defence Minister said in November that Canadians needn't fear ISIS. But since his comments, we've had ISIS-inspired jihadist attacks in Paris, in Istanbul, in Beirut, in Jakarta, where 1 Canadian was killed, and in Burkina Faso, where 6 Canadians were murdered by terrorists. Does the Prime Minister agree with his Defence Minister that ISIS is not a threat to Canadians?
Today as well, Environment Commissioner of Canada lambasted the current regulatory system for pipelines. Now, during the campaign, the Liberal leader made a very clear commitment to overhaul the environmental assessment process, and he promised that new regulations would apply to, quote, existing projects as well, and that the entire assessment process of current projects would have to be, quote, redone. Are the Liberals going to respect that very clear promise to change the rules and make sure these assessments are redone?
Member for Milton.
This can't be a situation of do as I say, not as I do. They are clearly saying that there's a problem with respect to Canadian household debt, but they're failing to recognize that there's going to be a real problem with our country's debt if they're going to go on a fiscal spending spree. Mr. Speaker, one way to figure out what's going on in the country is to have Finance Committee pre-budget consultations as per the mandate of a parliamentary committee. None are on the horizon, Mr. Speaker. Very simple question for the government. Yes or no? Are we going to have a Finance Committee pre-budget consultation?
The honourable member for Portage Lisgar.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the minister showed that he didn't know that under our Conservative government, the first Keystone pipeline was approved and built, along with the Alberta Clipper, the Line 9B reversal, and the Anchor Loop. However, under this irresponsible Liberal government, the Keystone XL pipeline was rejected with virtually no pushback, no opposition from the Liberals, no concern, as they laugh. But TransCanada isn't taking it lying down. In fact, it's challenging the U.S. decision at NAFTA. Simple question, will the government support this NAFTA challenge? Will they get behind it and be supportive of more jobs in Canadians?
The Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, at the time that the American decision was taken, the Prime Minister indicated that we regretted that decision from the Government of the United States. We have also said that the decision to appeal it to a NAFTA panel is the business of the proponent and not of the Government of Canada.
The honourable member for Portage Lisgar.
Shame on the government. Their previous governments have taken on NAFTA challenges.
Airdrie.
Mr. Speaker, unlike the Liberals' so-called changes, the Senate needs real reform. But instead, the Liberals have announced an unelected, unaccountable board that will be making secret recommendations for an unelected Senate. This advisory board will meet in secret, provide a non-binding shortlist in secret, where the Prime Minister will then choose from the list or not in secret. So I ask the Liberals, why the secrecy?
Now the Minister of Democratic Reform.
Mr. Speaker, I was pleased to announce on January 19th the appointments of the members of the Independent Advisory Board on Senate appointments, a critical step as the government begins the process of injecting a new spirit of non-partisanship in the Senate